Rodrigo Hernández Cascante was born in Madrid in 1996. His football journey began close to home, and after spending time with Rayo Majadahonda, he joined the academy of Atletico Madrid when he was still a child. Even at that age, coaches noticed something different about him. Rodri wasn't necessarily the most physically impressive player, but he understood football. One of his former youth coaches later remembered having unusually detailed tactical conversations with Rodri when he was only around 12 years old. He already seemed to see the game differently, and it was during these early years that he began developing into the position we know him for today. The defensive midfielder sitting in front of the defense and controlling what happens around him. But his first spell at Atletico would not end with a path into the first team. In 2013, at 17 years old, Atletico let Rodri go, reportedly because he was considered too small and not physically strong enough, and that created the first major turning point of his career. He moved more than 300 kilometers away from Madrid to join Villarreal. At the time, there was no guarantee that this move would lead anywhere. Rodri was not a famous wonder kid. He wasn't arriving as a future superstar. He was simply another young player trying to find his way into professional football. And his first months at Villarreal were not easy. Rodri later admitted that during his first year away from home, he even considered leaving. But he stayed. And slowly, things began to change. He progressed through Villarreal's youth system and eventually reached Villarreal B. But at the same time, Rodri had made an understanding with his parents. If he wanted to seriously pursue a career in football, he would also continue his education. So while trying to become a professional footballer, Rodri enrolled at Jaume I University to study business administration and management. And when he turned 18 and had to leave Villarreal's academy residence, instead of moving into an expensive apartment, he moved into student accommodation. This meant that one of Spain's future best footballers was living a completely normal university life. His room was simple: a bed, a desk, a laptop, no PlayStation, not even a television. He would train with Villarreal during the day and attend university classes afterwards. And most of the students living around him had no idea who he was. On Friday nights, they would gather in each other's rooms before going out. Rodri would join them for a while, but when everyone left for the clubs, he disappeared. Eventually, someone asked him why he never came with them. His answer was simple. He had football training in the morning. At that point, this didn't sound particularly impressive. Rodri was still around Villarreal's second team. He wasn't famous. He didn't even own a car. To reach training, Rodri would ride his bicycle to the tram station. He would take the bicycle onto the tram, and then ride the rest of the way to Villarreal's training ground. Eventually, he got his driving license. Rodri told his father that he had around 3,000 euros to spend on his first car. His father found one for around 4,000. It was a second-hand Opel Corsa. Rodri loved it. His teammates found it hilarious. While footballers were becoming associated with expensive cars and luxury lifestyles, Rodri was driving into training in an old Opel Corsa. And he didn't care. Because while all of this was happening away from football, his career was finally beginning to move. On December 17, 2015, at 19 years old, Rodri made his first team debut for Villarreal in a 2-0 Copa del Rey win over Huesca. A few months later, he made his first appearance in La Liga. And suddenly, the anonymous student living down the hall was appearing on television. And as his role at Villarreal grew, his two lives became increasingly difficult to keep separate. One day, Rodri was studying in his university room, with his phone on silent. He was so focused that he lost track of everything happening around him. When he eventually checked his phone, he had dozens of messages and missed calls. Something was wrong. a teammate finally reached him. The Villarreal squad was already sitting on the team bus. They were traveling to Valencia for a match. Rodri had forgotten he was supposed to be there. He initially thought they were joking. Then he realized the truth. He had been so focused on university work that he had almost missed a La Liga team trip. Rodri jumped into his Opel Corsa and drove to meet the team at their hotel in Valencia. He later described it as a major lesson in learning how to manage the two completely different worlds he was living in. Football, however, was quickly becoming the more important one. During the 2017-2018 season, Rodri established himself as one of Villarreal's most important players. He made 47 appearances in all competition. But one statistic shows just how effective he had become. According to Atletico Madrid, Rodri recovered possession 320 times during that La Liga season, more than any other player in the competition. He also completed 2,470 passes, the third highest total in La Liga that season. This was no longer simply an interesting young midfielder. Rodri had become one of the best players in Spain at doing exactly what a defensive midfielder is supposed to do: win the ball, keep the ball, and move it intelligently. His development was also being noticed by the Spanish national team. Rodri had already been part of Spain's squad that won the European Under-19 Championship in 2015. Then, in March 2018, while still playing for Villarreal, he made his senior international debut for Spain against Germany. And by that point, another club had noticed how far he had come: Atlético Madrid. The same club Rodri had left 5 years earlier now wanted him back. In May 2018, Atletico officially announced an agreement with Villarreal. Rodri was coming home. Atletico were now willing to spend millions to bring back a player they had let go only 5 years earlier. And Rodri's second spell at the club started almost perfectly. His first competitive appearance came in the 2018 UEFA Super Cup. The opponent, Real Madrid. Atletico won 4-2 after extra time. Rodri had returned to his childhood club and immediately won a European trophy. But Atletico gave him something more important than a medal. It gave him another piece of his game. Rodri later explained that Villarreal had taught him what it meant to be a professional. Atletico, under Diego Simeone, taught him what it meant to compete. At Villarreal, Rodri believed he was technically strong, but still slightly soft. Simeone changed that. He taught Rodri to tackle harder, to become more aggressive, to make matches uncomfortable for opponents. Villarreal had developed the intelligent passer. Simeone added the fighter. And the combination was becoming extremely valuable. Rodri played 47 times during his only season back at Atletico. But before that season was even over, attention was already arriving from England. Pep Guardiola needed a long-term solution at the base of Manchester City's midfield. Fernandinho was already in his 30s, and Rodri appeared to have almost everything Guardiola wanted. He was tall and physically strong. He could recover possession. He could protect the defense. But most importantly, he could receive the ball under pressure and control the tempo of a match. Before making his decision, Rodri even spoke with Sergio Busquets. There were obvious similarities. Busquets had played the same position under Guardiola at Barcelona, and his message to Rodri was clear. Pep would make him a better player, but he would never stop demanding more from him. For Rodri, the opportunity was too good to ignore. In July 2019, Manchester City completed the signing. Manchester City triggered his €70 million release clause, around £62.8 million at the time, making Rodri the most expensive signing in the club's history at that point. And the speed of his rise was remarkable. But perhaps the most interesting thing about Rodri's journey is that every stop gave him something different. Atletico's academy gave him his football education. Leaving Atletico forced him to start again. Villarreal gave him his opportunity. University gave him a life outside football. And Diego Simeone gave him another level of competitiveness. By the time Pep Guardiola came calling in 2019, Manchester City weren't buying a finished superstar. They were buying a player whose unusual journey had slowly created almost the perfect defensive midfielder for Guardiola's system. And everything that happened afterwards started with that road, long before Manchester City.